My humble respect to Guru Mahan, Guru Piran Sivasankaran, Guru Piranyo, fellow Jnanis. Today I'm going to continue Mahan's chapter 14, part 2, on respect and reverence. The last time I defined what respect is and what reverence is, and the kind of qualities one nurtures, respect for others and the work of others, and have role models, and also how do we, through having respect for other people and their work, how we imbibe that, and through the process of spiritual osmosis, we ourselves then command greater respect for ourselves and for other people, and have greater reverence for our lives and that of others. So today I want to continue further on Mahan's perspective of respect and reverence. And he speaks about why sometimes this respect and reverence is certain things are beyond the reach of human beings. Hence, we are unable to get the highest return on the values that we have, and the treasures and the inner resources that we have and that of other people. So here Swamiji walks through with us why some things are unattainable and how do we, reverse that and make it accessible to us and to everybody else. So here he speaks about why, sometimes, people find it hard to get this highest return on value of our own selves and the treasures within us. And he speaks about wealth. This is the material wealth, intellectual wealth, spiritual wealth, all these wealth, the 10 capitals that I spoke about in the past. Why is it that, the people who have it cannot get full value of it, and they can't give full value for others? This is because, having wealth is one thing, having responsibility and having that mindset to be able to create better value is another. So here he says, wealth in the hands of men without magnanimity. That means people who have big heart, people who are willing to share. When you don't share the resources that you have, you see that you're unable to get better value. This is very interesting. See, in economics, we say that, you can have money, but you keep the money for yourself is of no value. You've got to go out and use the money, and the more you use, the more you share. The velocity of money creates the value. So in that same thing that Mahan speaks about here, wealth in the hands of men without magnanimity would not be able to derive the best value for themselves and for other people. The next one is also, he speaks about education, education with those without the faculty of thinking. You can have all the education you want, but if you do not know how to use it effectively, if you do not know how to create value from that education, then it's of no value. See, so sometimes you see highly educated people get themselves into a lot of difficulties, partake in things that makes that mind shrunken. So having the education is one thing, expanding the mind, having a more universal mind is a different thing. So, there are people that are highly educated, have PhDs, have postdoctoral qualification, yet are unable to think in a creative way. So again, they don't derive the best value from this. Similarly, there are many people that know a lot of spiritual education, they can quote the scriptures, very well, but unfortunately, they're unable to use this knowledge effectively to enrich their lives and that of other people. So here, Mahan, makes this point. He also speaks about, the broader government. He says that, government is very important for any local council or state or the nation state, and also the global community, right? So he says that government in the hands of people who are callous to the sufferings of the people or the poor. He says that you can elect officials to head the government, but if they don't understand the needs of the people and sensitive to the people, particularly the vulnerable communities and poor, it is of no value. They can't get the maximum return for their position and also the role of and the people. So again, here he speaks about how good people, spiritual people should be part of that leadership of organizations, corporations, states, governments, so that through their goodness they bring greater goodness for the people. The other one also he speaks about is that speaking of higher philosophies to men of no character or critical mind, he says, one can be very, very philosophical, but if they are imparting that knowledge to others, if the people who are imparting don't have that character, speaking is one thing, but having that values themselves is very important, walking the talk, right? In that same way, when we have this higher philosophies, spiritual values, and Advaita philosophy, and the universal philosophy, it's no point teaching to someone who is not dedicated, not disciplined, nor are willing to go deep. So they say sometimes it's like wasting one's time in telling them what to do, because it's like you're not going to get good values, good value from that imparting that knowledge. So again, Swamiji speaks about how to get better value. One needs to really reassess both as a person who's got the resources, plus also the receiver of the resources. So he says things that are reach of human beings. What is it that will be able to reach human beings? Earlier he spoke about why people are unable to get it, and why what needs to be done. He says that how do we get the maximum return on value? He says wealth is in the hands of people with generous hearts. When wealth is in among the people who have very noble character, very philanthropic, you see that it benefits them because it gives them greater higher order values as opposed to just material values, but also it benefits the recipients that may be struggling, that needs that resources to improve their quality of life. So philanthropy, so having the wealth is one thing. Sharing that wealth creates more wealth. May not be material wealth, but it may create other wealth in terms of talent and greater comfort and more peace among the vulnerable communities. He also speaks about education. He says acquiring education is very important, but the greatest value comes with those who are very creative and open-minded, willing to learn new things, willing to try new things, adapt it, to their own lifestyle, and become more innovative and share that with others on how to do it. So again, he says that this is reachable if people who have this wealth and education are willing to show and help others also achieve this. The same thing, he says, government in the hands of people who are sensitive and caring in addressing the sufferings of the people and the poor. He says that if governments, are very caring and sensitive and devised and develop plans and policies to get the resources to the people to improve their quality of life, particularly the vulnerable and poor, it makes a big difference. A good example is that many of us are second generation, third generation immigrants to these countries. Many of the immigrants that came into this country were in very, very poor circumstances. Some were very privileged, but many were very, very poor. But because at that time, the government of the time made access to education, resources, and public services, we saw that the first generation and second generation started doing very well. And today we have the second generation and third generation immigrants live a better and quality of life, holding better jobs, have better wealth, better quality of life. And we see that, we can clearly see that governments that are sensitive to the needs of people can make a big difference. In many developed countries, you see that governments provide free education, healthcare, access to jobs, and so on. And we see that people's lifestyle have improved significantly. And many people from other countries, underdeveloping, developing countries, want to migrate there. So again, governments that meet the needs of people, will not only do very well, but also, country will prosper and become productive and globally competitive. In that same way, Swami speaks about speaking of higher philosophies to men who have the character, not only the people who are, speaking about these philosophies, but also those who are listening. They have to have that character, the discipline, and the critical mind and the determination to realize themselves and be of service to the others. Not only acquiring this knowledge for their own benefit to attain self-realization, but to be able to acquire this, realize the full potential of themselves and helping others to achieve this. And this is the way that if we have leaders and pace setters and Mahans to access this knowledge, make it simple and provide this to others, we see that the respect and reverence to our own inner resources and what's available in nature, we have a lot more respect and can get better return on value from our lives and the lives of others and nature itself. So here, this, value system is so important. And here Swamiji speaks about the whole idea of having this spiritual mindset is to be able to create better return on value. What does that mean? It means having greater meaning and purpose of our lives, be able to search for the inner freedom, well-being, and peace of mind. The second pillar. So the first pillar is finding meaning and purpose and the things that we value, our lives, the people that make our lives, come into our lives, the things that, enrich our lives. So that's the first pillar. The second pillar is actually the value that the search for inner freedom, not be impacted by the sukha dukkha or birth, death cycle, that improves. We're not worried about things, we have that ability to transform scars into stars, and the well-being that enhances our well-being and gives us peace of mind. So our mental capacities become strong. That helps our intellectual capabilities, and that has a knock-on effect throughout our lives. The third pillar is an experience of living. So when we are peaceful, we really live in the best possible way. We flourish, we find hope, even during the challenging moments of our lives. We are able to transform, the pressures in our lives into treasures that brings the best out of us. And we see that, the fourth pillar is that we have beautiful, loving relationship with ourselves. We feel full happiness with ourselves, our lives, the people around us, and we have a sense of belonging. It is not a physical space or a material place. It is actually the spiritual abode that all of us every day go back and emerge from there. And that abode gives us a sense of belonging, a sense of direction, and gives us meaning of our lives. And that's the values that not only we acquire, but we also share it with others, our loved ones, and the broader community. And the last one is actually that value-based living is actually being in the present moment, not worrying too much about the past, nor worried about the future, what the future would be, living in the present. And this is the greatest return on value. That present, living in the present is actually a present, a gift. And if you can do that, every moment is a gift. And over time, we see that our lives have so much meaning. Our life itself is a gift, a present from nature. Realizing nature is with us, realizing nature is a core to our being, realizing nature is the architect of everything, every experience, and every moment. And this is how we divinize our lives. And this is what Swamiji speaks about the respect and reverence for nature, the nature that is embedded in us, the nature that is the source of all creation, everyone, every person. And that's what makes life so exciting. Sandosham.